Hey, you guys. So the news has been awash with conversations. Oh, I should change my photo. Yes, babe. The news has been awash. Okay. Mister's here, you guys. The news has been full of conversations about Roe versus, first of all, we knew that it was getting overturned. So I don't know why everybody's all up in arms as if they didn't know that this was a thing that was going to happen. But that's what people are pretending. They're pretending like they didn't know this was going to happen. Oh, what is going on with this? I can't actually see the whole thing. But Mr. and I thought we would talk about this. Now, honestly, I don't even know if Mr. is pro-choice or pro-life. Have you ever told me?
Choice.
Oh, he's pro-choice. Oh, this should be an interesting conversation because you guys know that I'm pro-life. We've only talked about what would happen in our relationship. I've never asked him how he felt about it on the whole. So what are your thoughts on it being overturned? Now I'm very interested.
So it's interesting you said that people should have known what was going to happen. I think people probably are in disbelief because, especially, the liberal folks, they were just probably thinking, you can't undo, Roe v. Wade. You can't disallow women to not have control over their wombs. And so, but that's kind of like the liberal conversation and their stance. For me, I look at it a couple ways. So it's interesting that I think it's the CEO from Dick's Sporting Goods, um, are going to allow, I guess, people who work for Dick's or their team members, as she calls them, like a 4,000 dollar allowance if they need to perform an abortion to go to the next state, right, and safely do that. So one of my concerns is that we've spoken about this, is even though white folks have started to increase their the birth rate slightly, um, a lot of people in those southern states going to be like, shoot, this is what we're talking about. we, when people are talking about replacement theory and stuff like that, you could say it's a theory or a conspiracy theory, but you look at these type of things and say, what is it about? Now, again, a lot of these Republican states and red states and southern states are very conservative, Christian, and everything. They are definitely pro-life, so that has a lot to do with their decisions.
Don't put that on Christian.
No, I mean that's what they are. So I mean, it is what it is. I'm not knocking anybody. Listen, I said I'm choice. Either you could do one or the other. Um, but I do think um this is kind of like false nigga outrage because, like you said, I just don't think they really felt that they were going to do it. Even though all signs were, leaning towards that.
Well, this is what I think. I think, first of all, and we've already spoken about this on this channel, Roe versus Wade being overturned does not stop abortions.
Definitely doesn't.
It does not stop abortions. Trust me, in these ultra liberal states where people are running around calling themselves they and, they're non binary, like in the non binary states, you'll literally be in actual labor and they will be happy to kill your child before it pops out your vag. Like, I am positive that it will be that extreme in places like California, New York, places like that. And then there will be states where they're simply not going to allow you to kill your child. I have to say, as I was watching the commentary on various stations and listening to it regarding this, I had a very civilized conversation on my channel between pro life and pro choice people. When I tell you that my conservative chip was very activated when there were, on the news stations and things, there were women talking about, you don't care about women and all of like something that I try really hard not to do, but I'm going to say it tonight is parent, if a parent does not care about the life of their own child, I think that it is very bizarre that they would demand that people care about their life and their well-being. It's like you don't care about your own kid. So why should anybody care more for you than you do for your own child? That's insane to me. Now, I do think, conservatives are really dropping the ball in the area of you can't just say that you want to protect unborn children, but then you don't care about how their lives are affected after they're born.
Say that.
So I do think where we really drop the ball as conservatives is trying to pretend as if the protection and care of that child ends at birth. But I do think it's very disingenuous and very awkward. And we can let people up one at a time to talk to us if you want.
But
to expect people to care anything about you when you don't care about your own offspring.
well, here's what I want to interject. I think we all know folks, and particularly the government, they care about certain children, right, over others. And that's not going to change whether, you know, they're born or who's not born, right? So that's something we'll probably delve into later on in this conversation. Um, but one of my concerns is this, you alluded to it, is that there are some people, like you said, they're going to abort. It's not going to stop abortion. But my concern is those um, folk, and excuse me, this may be kind of graphic, but those folks who may try to take the hanger themselves and just do some crazy stuff and end up definitely killing, the fetus off the, whatever term you want to call it. I know there's different terms for different, parts, times while the baby's in the womb. But I'm concerned about those silly people that may try to take matters in their own hand or have somebody else do that and really not only just abort, abort, but also mess up themselves or do, potential, you know, fatal harm to themselves or allow somebody else to do it are just, yeah. So I'm concerned about that. Again, those things can happen anyway, but I'm just, interested in what people have to say about that. Go ahead, speak on it.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell y'all are really going to get to know me tonight. Okay. Now, I just want to, again, if you want a more civilized, balanced conversation on this topic, go to the previous video that I did. But tonight, I titled it and I warned you guys conservative chip activated. Listen to me. I have said this for many years and I will say it now. If a person is so desperate, a woman, because it could only be a woman, is so desperate to murder her own child that she would actually shove a hanger up her vag to murder her own kid, I can't have any more mercy on her than she is having on her own child. I just can't get past this. How am I going to have more mercy on a woman who would go to that extreme to murder her own child? This mother doesn't even have mercy for her own child. Why would I? It's just, I don't understand that. I don't understand how we can sympathize with the woman so greatly, but we don't think that that child's mother should be able to conjure up that level of sympathy for their own kid. Now, Claire's Water said, I think it's bizarre to make women birth a child she doesn't want. Well, if most abortions are from consensual sex, I think if women don't want children or if men don't want to get women pregnant, then they shouldn't be having sex with them. Period. Don't have sex. Sex is not like air. Sex is not like water. Sex is not like food. You won't die. If you don't want kids, there's a surefire way. So I think um, people who have sex clearly do want children because you're having sex. You don't want to have sex. You don't want children. Don't have sex. You know.
Now, I will say this: women are not the only ones doing that. Trying to abort children. And again, I'm a brother advocate, but it was a silly brother named Ray Caruth. And for those of you who don't know about Ray Caruth, look up Silly Ray, who was a former first round player for the Carolina Panthers. So Ray impregnated a stripper and he got embarrassed and he ended up, I think he killed her, but the baby still survived miraculously. So there's some brothers too, unfortunately, who are down with this shenanigans by any means necessary. So it's not only, you know, women.
Yeah, and somebody should kill him. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that should be the penalty, right? Well, but why would he go to, well, here's the thing though. And that is the weird double standard. If you can kill babies in the womb, then it shouldn't be a crime to kill babies in the womb. But we pick and choose when we decide a baby is a baby and when a baby's not a baby. It's a baby if people want the kid. It's suddenly a clump of cells and not a baby when the people don't want the kid. So I think that's very interesting. For killing a clump of cells?
No, he killed the mother. The baby survived.
Oh, so he served for killing the mom.
Yeah.
Why did he only get 19 years? Why didn't they kill him? Well, you guys know some people just need, to lose their life over the crimes they commit. But it's equally egregious. And
Fire in the murder.
he didn't kill her then.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But I will say this. I think a lot of men who support, and this puts you in the hot seat. I think a lot of men who support abortion do it because they want to be able to have sex and not have children. And they fear they'll be held to their responsibility if they are having sex and there's not a way to not get women pregnant. So this liberation for women is really liberation from men. Tiff said Florida proposed a bill to make the father pay child support when the mother was 14 weeks pregnant back in March. And you guys know I believe in that. I think child support should start as soon as you can do a DNA test. And I really think that's is it 8 to 10 weeks? Around 8 to 10 weeks, you can do a DNA test. You can do a paternity test. And I think that should be when child support starts. Because I do believe that that's a child in the womb. I don't think that women should go unsupported. But I also feel like if we just get married and have babies with our spouses, we won't have to worry so much about child support. I'm not saying people don't get divorced and marriage is perfect. I'm just saying we keep trying to find ways to get out of responsibility. We don't want to get married anymore. We want to have sex indiscriminately. And honestly, all these laws are, for the most part, in place because they say that most people who have abortions have children already, but most of those people aren't married. Most people who have abortions are also single. So we want people to be promiscuous, and abortions are really a way for people to not face the reality of what that level of promiscuity does to them.
Well, again, the argument is going to be, what about women who were, molested, raped, these types of things, heinous things, right? And they should have, the opportunity to, because that wasn't something that they chose, right? It was forced upon them. So, what say you about that? And even though I just read some recently that
That
the
what
old
was
lady, no, so rape, right? Obviously,
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's
Well, some Clear as Water is saying the same thing. Maybe she was raped, incest. I wouldn't want that baby. I want to speak on it.
and so, and I heard the whole, the lady in the Roe v. Wade case essentially lied that she was never really raped, that she was
Yeah,
trying to,
it wasn't.
and so which doesn't really help that argument. Although there's so many, unfortunate situations where people who have been raped and molested and everything. So, what do you think about that situation?
I think that, what is it? It's like 1% of abortions or less, something like that. Some minuscule amount of abortions are from rape. And I think that is like us bringing up, I just want to say this, us bringing up the what about rape or incest question is like us deciding to make all gloves with 3 fingers because 1% of the population has 3 fingers. So all the gloves in the store have to be 3 fingers. And that's kind of the same thing that's being done here. You take 99% of abortions have nothing at all whatsoever to do with rape or incest. So to have a overarching conversation about abortion on that 1% or less of people, of women, is I feel like it's very disingenuous. But you guys know that I think the child is innocent. If we're going to kill somebody, then let's find the person who committed the rape and kill them. Why on earth would we kill a child? I don't understand that. I don't understand the logic of killing somebody that is innocent for the crime of somebody who is not innocent. Um, that's very hard, but I think it derails the conversation to even bring those people up when those women make up like less than 1% of abortions. Because what we need to talk about is the 99%. Like I said, we're not going to make 3 fingered gloves as the norm when most people have 5 fingers just because some people have 3 fingers. No more than we should have an overarching conversation about abortion simply because and base it on less than 1% or less than 1% of the people that get abortions or the women that get abortions. So Lorraine said, but you can die during childbirth. So a woman who doesn't want a pregnancy should risk their own life. I think okay, so the dying during childbirth thing. If you can die during childbirth, which you can, then sex with men should be something that as a woman you should take extremely seriously because having sex with a man can end up in pregnancy and that pregnancy could cost you your life. All that says to me is that we should stop pretending that sex is so casual because the pregnancy is not the problem. When you lay down with a man, what you're saying is, I'm willing to risk my life for this penis. And I guess abortion at that point is not the conversation to me. The conversation is why engage in an act that could lead to something that could cost you your life
Well,
if you don't want to carry the child of that person.
what about that small percentage that you alluded to, right? And we can look up the percentage of
I'll look it up right
the
now.
child.
It's less
No, no, no. Okay, look up that percentage, but also look up, because the sister raised a good point. Those who died giving childbirth, the women, and particularly let's look at African American women who died giving childbirth. Because again, if it's a person who was raped, molested, unfortunately, right,
less than
horrible
a
thing.
thousand, like 660.
What for which stat?
So less than 1,000 women per year die of childbirth.
Okay, all right.
Wait,
So
did they hear that? The stat is less than 1,000 women in the United States, less than 1,000 women out of a population of 35 million die every year from childbirth.
okay, so even with that number, which is low, but it's still as somebody who was a virgin, and everything, not getting down with, like you say, casual, consensual sex and everything like that. They were being mindful and everything. What do you think about them going on? And again, I get your position, like the child is innocent and everything, but they still have to carry that child for 9 months, and that's still a symbol, or I don't know how they were going to view that. I mean, everybody's not going to have that orientation that you have. Like, this child is innocent. They're going to view this as a symbol of the heinous thing that took place to me.
Yeah. So again, what does that have to do with the other 99% of people? Like, it has nothing to do with it. And for all intensive purposes, abortion is not illegal. It is, and in many states, it will not be illegal. I dare say in most states, it won't be illegal. But I don't think that it makes sense to have an overarching conversation about abortion by virtually, less than 1% of the people that get abortions. I don't even, there's no value to that to me.
So what are your
We
thoughts?
should be talking about the 99%.
Well, I just disagree. I hear what you're saying, the majority, but I want to cover all of them because that, you know, life is not insignificant of what you're saying. And so it would almost be contradiction to say, we shouldn't be worried about them. We should be worried about them all. I get your point. I get your point.
Well,
Is that the
not
most
that we shouldn't be worried about them. We shouldn't be basing the
as caught up?
conversation on 99% of the population. This is like the trans thing, right? Transgender people make up a very small percent of the population, but we are changing 99% of the population's lived experience to cater to this minuscule part of the population. It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying, I already said rapists should be killed. Children should not be killed, though. What did the child do? The child has done nothing. And it's not me or you that's hurting that woman. It's the person that raped her that is responsible for every single thing that happens after that rape. But that baby is not responsible for anything. There's no part of that rape that is that child's fault. Now, if your parent commits a crime, can I kill you? If one of your parents commits a crime, can I murder you for your parent's crime? Are you willing to give your life for your parent's crime? That's the thing. Now, if you're willing to die for your parent's crime, then okay, let's have the conversation. But until you're willing to let somebody kill you for something that your parent did, I don't really know if anybody is in a position. A person who's not willing to die for their parents' crimes is not in a position to say that somebody else should die for the crimes of their parents.
So what was the percentage?
Oh, of rape? Okay, let me check. So, lots of the ladies are saying castrations. Why castrations? Like, just don't have sex. Look, if you don't want to be pregnant by some guy, don't have sex with him. Why does anybody have to get a castration so what? I don't understand. No more than I would tell a woman to take her ovaries out or get a hysterectomy. Or get her tubes tied. It's like, surely we're not animals. Surely we can manage
No,
to simply not have sex if we don't want kids.
no, I think you're referring to the rapist.
No, no. Well, maybe Jean J is, but somebody else said, why not promote castrations? Like not castrations. Yeah. Encourage men to not castrations. Encourage men to get vasectomies. Sorry, I just got the two confused. So I think Jean J is talking about for rapists, but I think you should kill them, not castrate them. Um, but then somebody else was bringing up vasectomies. Like, why not just have men get vasectomies? And I guess to that, I would say a man shouldn't need a vasectomy any more than you need your ovaries taken out. Because quite frankly, if you think a man is not worth seeding your womb, why are you in bed with him anyway? If you think a woman is not worth having your child, why are you having sex with her? That I think is a better question.
So this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. So back in 1973, of course, I think all of the justices were males, and now we have what, two females on the court. And again, I'm not saying that they were part of, because it was like 5-4, I believe. But it's just interesting that we have women on the court, and now we've overturned. So, what are your thoughts about that?
First, I want to answer your question. So, 1% of women obtain an abortion because of rape, and 0.5, meaning less than 1%, half of that, of women do so because of incest. And those are the stats. And that's as of 2019. So I think that um, we always talk about men's speaking on what's happening to a woman's body, but again, a bunch of men are the people who wanted abortion. So that's how we got abortion. It was a bunch of men got together and made a decision about women's bodies. Um, I think with two women being on the court, I haven't read the opinions. I think we don't even have to guess, right? We could actually, and maybe we should do that at some point. We can read the individual opinions from everybody on the court. But I think what the court did overarchingly, what we do know is that they did not base it on the rightness or the wrongness of abortions. They based it on the fact that it was an overreach of federal jurisdiction, that was something. It is not, and the Supreme Court is not saying abortion's right or abortion's wrong. They're saying the federal government was not the court to was not supposed to have made that decision, that decision belongs in the hands of the state, because the way that our laws are written in this country, the federal government is over interstate commerce and specific things. They're not over the end all be all for everything. That's not how our government operates. So they were simply saying this was not constitutional, that the federal government should not have been making that decision. The individual states get to make that decision. So it's not even about the Supreme Court. I doubt even one justice probably gave their opinion. Well, I'm sure some dissenters did, but about the morality of it, it's just more the legality of it. So I don't know if I'm comfortable saying like what the women who are there now, um, if that caused the change, because I think it obviously would take more than their votes to push that over.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they caused it. I'm pretty sure I would assume that they would have been in favor of keeping Roe. But I'm just thinking, speaking to the influences, right, of having women on there, because again, this is what all my liberal friends talk about, right? Oh, we need to have this, and it's all this liberal echo chamber talk about pronouns, women's rights, all these things, but we see how influential it is or isn't in this case. So I just thought it was interesting. But you're right. Ultimately, men do make the decisions, whether you want to, you like it or not. But that's how it is.
Yeah, clear as water, which thank you for sharing your story. Clear as water said, in my 20s, I had sex with a condom. It broke. I got pregnant. I was not in love. I wanted an orgasm. I got an abortion. The man got shot 2 months later. No damn way. People make mistakes. Birth control fails. I would say that, can I just keep it frank with you? Clear as water. Can I be honest? And it's not you. This is what I would say, period. We should not be having sex with people we don't want to reproduce with. And the reality is, you laid down with somebody who you did not feel was worthy of being your child's father because you wanted an orgasm. And the consequence of that was pregnancy, because sex ends in pregnancy. And I all I have to say is you went through an abortion. That can be a traumatic experience. Maybe it wasn't for you. Was having sex with him worth getting an abortion? I have that. This whole video, is the peen worth it? Right? Was that sex that you got, that orgasm that he gave you, even though most women don't have orgasms when they're having sex, right? Not by penetration, at least. Not me. I do, but I'm thankful to Mister here. But other women, most women don't. So my question would be, was that man worth having to go through an abortion? Was having sex with him worth that? And I think that is the question every person should ask themselves when they're laying down in bed with another person. Women, when you're laying down with men, is the penis worth whatever disease you might catch, whatever abortion you might get, whatever pill you might have to pop, whatever baby you might end up carrying? Is his penis worth all that? If it is, have at it. If it's not, perhaps don't have at it. Same thing with the man. Are you going to feel some kind of way if she gets knocked up? Is the child support going to bother you? Is this somebody you'd want raising your child, or is she just attractive? If the answer is no to the above questions, then maybe that's not a good person to have sex with. The reality is, we think that condoms and birth control somehow give us license to be irresponsible. And then when all of the measures there to prevent us from suffering the repercussions of our irresponsibility fail, we turn to abortion. Like I mean, I titled this "Conservative Chip Activated." I'm just going to throw it all on the table, you guys. Half y'all are going to hate me after this, but I just got to keep it 1,000.
Well, I think you said a lot in that last little segment, but let's just keep it a buck. Most of us, and she was honest, pretty honest. She was looking for an orgasm, and most guys, I mean,
I have a million alarms, you guys.
and and a lot of brothers out there just try to get in that too. So it's like we don't often consider, you know, the ramification that you convey. We don't. We just, if we're just being honest with ourselves, and we should, like, man, do I want to? I mean, a lot of us, I'm pretty sure, have dodged many a bullet. Like, whoo, man, that person was cray cray. I'm glad I didn't have something with them. And some of us, unfortunately, probably even married the person, right? Or or not married them and had a child with them, and it's just all all bad. So we really have to be very mindful. I mean, yeah, when I was younger, I was shoot willy nilly. I'm like, okay, just that same mindset. And I really think it's important for us, those of us who are older or maybe even younger, who have that overstanding, that really, put that in the young brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? Because it goes both ways. Um, and you can make an argument now that some of these youngsters are even more aggressive than some of the brothers. So we just really got to put that out there. And there's a lot of stuff on social media talking about, bros, y'all better be careful now. It ain't gonna be no more 250.
Yeah,
It's
see, that's how
it,
men. I'm telling you, that's
it
why they want abortion.
and so and again, there's some that are really, there's some conservative brothers are really like, yeah, this is what we need, because they want, the procreation and everything. So you got brothers on both sides. Um, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I believe that men are on social media saying that because honestly, that's why they love abortion. Because if something goes wrong, they can just send you to go get the abortion. Like they don't. They wait. They don't have to get an abortion. You do. Wait, wait,
I gotta interject because yeah, that is true. But there are some good brothers out there, and there's some women, unbeknownst to the brothers, who have aborted a child, their child, unbeknownst to him, right? And that's some foul stuff too. So you can't listen. We could take the brothers to, we could, we could call them out for their fuckery. We got to call out the sister for their fuckery too, because that is crazy. You know,
Well, it's not crazy in a society that says that the child can be killed anyway. Like, either we care about children being killed in the mother's womb, or they're only valuable when we want them. And any other time we can just go and we can kill them. It's just inconsistency. It's like, why does a child have value in one case, but absolutely no value whatsoever in
and
another case?
and that's my point. So the overarching narrative is that brothers are the only ones that want to get rid of and everything. Well, that's not necessarily true, because some of the women, again, unbeknownst to the partner father, will do it, and he's no, he's not the wiser. So we just got to keep everybody held accountable.
That means that he's not really in a relationship with that woman, because women, when you're in a relationship with a man, he knows when your period's coming, he knows when it's going to be over, he knows everything. So men who truly know the women that they're sleeping with, he would know if she was pregnant. He'd be like, what? You know what I'm saying? He would know just like she would know. He wouldn't be in the dark about that. Um
I
got
mean, he probably could know that she's pregnant, but she probably made her decision without him to abort the child. And what is he? That doesn't happen.
Well, I'm going to say this. It's very rare, because we know that women are often coerced into going to get abortions, or they're told they won't have support, so they go get abortions. A huge number of women, for lack of support and lack of and coercion, that is actually a huge percentage of abortions. I would rather talk about women who go for abortions because they don't have resources, or because the father says they don't want the child, or coerces them, tells them later we can have a kid. I would rather talk about those cases, because they make up the bulk of abortions.
But that's the ones we hear about, is what I'm saying. I mean, to me, the numbers get convoluted because, again, we don't really know the percentage of those underhanded sisters, not all, those underhanded sisters who go out and do that. We don't know. We just hear the one narrative about the coercion, like you said, this brother is broke. This nigga he ain't got no money. So I got to go out here and do everything on my own. Or there's an assumption like, okay, well, if the nigga was broke when you lay down with him, he ain't gonna hit the lottery overnight. I mean, give a nigga a chance to go up from the fries to, flipping burgers. You gotta, come on.
Honestly, just don't have sex with men who aren't worth seeding your womb. Then you won't have to go get an abortion, because I have never met a woman who thought the penis was worth that morning after pill she had to take, or the penis was worth that abortion that she had to get. And don't think that RU486, don't think that taking that pill isn't painful. When you're doubled over in pain because you took the abortion pill, was the penis worth it? No, it wasn't. So stop just having sex with men who don't want to get you pregnant. Because um first of all, I want to go through a couple comments, because Goddess Karma said, I think it's the one thing men can't control, because only we can give birth, so they want to be able to control that with laws. Men can't control us giving birth with laws, because the decision for 99% of women of getting pregnant is made when we have sex. So unless a man is raping you and then tying you down and forcing you to give birth, nobody's forcing any women to give birth or to be pregnant. That's a decision that we make when we consent to sex. Just like men, I don't have any mercy when it comes to child support or taking care of your kids, because listen, when you lay down to have sex, you are consenting to everything that happens, because you knew that person could have a disease. You knew that person could get pregnant. You knew, right? These things when you laid down and you chose to chase pleasure and risk it all. You're willing to risk it all, right? When people lay down to have sex and they're willing to risk it all for an orgasm, well, then you do what you out to do, which was risk everything for temporary pleasure with somebody that you really don't like that, right? Um, Clear as Water said, make men get vasectomies. There is a male birth control. There is male birth control
There
now.
is.
That just came down the pipeline. There is. Men are also taking off condoms mid-sex. This is true, but again, when we lay down with people, You know what? That is a risk. So that's why you just don't have sex with people you don't want to reproduce with. It just keeps coming back to that. Shrug said, I agree, Clearwater. All the responsibility falls on women and girls. And these are facts. And I know that it's not fair, but you know what? Biology is not fair. The reality is the burden of reproduction, not because of men, but because of biology, falls on women. And because the burden of reproduction falls on women, we cannot be as loosey goosey as men. It may not be fair, but life is not fair. And we have to be in reality. And the reality is, we have the vaginas, we have the wombs, we are the people that carry children. Men do not do that. So they can be more reckless and ridiculous and whorish and skirt by and get away with it. They can make 15 babies and never even know that they created children. Men have had sex, seeded wombs. Wait a second. Men have had sex. They have impregnated women and gone about their lives and probably don't even know that they have kids because the woman never told them. That is the reality of reproduction, is that women, the burden is on us. It just is, it is, it is, and therefore we must be super responsible with our bodies. Not saying men should not be, just saying we as women have really no choice. We're not like men. We can't have sex, make a baby, run off, and never know about it. When we make a baby, we know about it because the baby's in our body, and then we have to do something about that, right? So, what are you going to say?
Well, until you kind of cleaned it up at the end, I think
Oh,
no, because what you just said is basically brothers don't have any accountability. Yes,
no,
no,
they
no, no.
don't really.
Well, they do. Listen, yes, women carry the child, 9, maybe more months sometimes, right? I get that. But if we have this type of narrative, if we're saying, oh, well, this is always the case, men could just do this, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and just go to the next one. It's like, no, brothers have to have some responsibilities and accountability. And there's a lot of brothers who do. They do. And once they, okay, you know, you're pregnant. All right, we got to take care of this child. They do that. And of course, there's some brothers who don't, unfortunately, too many. But to me, again, they have to be accountable. But it's a lot of this like, oh, well, yeah, you knew that, when you were laying down with them, this could happen. But now everything falls on you. Mm, that shouldn't be the way. That, because I think we say that enough, and some brothers, they say, "Oh, well, shoot, that's on her. I don't have nothing to do with that," and that's a narrative that becomes pervasive. Like I don't have nothing to do with that, and I think it's a way of getting people, you get off the hook. You're not held accountable because everybody says this. Listen, when my son was younger, everybody's like, you have to worry about him because it's the girl that gets pregnant. Well, he's the one with the bullets. I mean, he's not going to be accountable. I mean, thank God I don't have any grandchildren or anything like that. But no, he has to be accountable too.
Except for that's easy to say, but men can literally have sex, run off into the sunset, and not be accountable. Whereas women can't run off into the sunset because that baby is going to go with them. The baby, they can run off into the sunset, but they're carrying the baby in their body. And I guess that's what I mean is
Absolutely.
men behave recklessly because they can. Women don't it's an unfair system of reproduction. It just is what it is, though, and there's no reason we as women, we have to stop pretending that, even though it's unfair, right, we have to stop pretending that we can make the moves that men make sexually, because their level of whoredom is something that a woman is simply not capable of without serious repercussions to her body. And and that's why, and they're whores with us, right? Men are whores with women. So if we start protecting our bodies and our wombs by not just giving our bodies to men when we know that they can shirk their accountability, And we can't as easily shirk ours. We have to have the abortion if that's what you choose. We have to give birth to the baby. We have to be the ones pregnant. Then in that case, that just means that we should stop making it a free for all with vagina and stop, close the vagina factory down, right? Stop just throwing vagina at men and having sex with all these men. Make access to women's bodies something that they have to work for, and something that um has a value, because right now vagina really has, the market value of vagina is very low, you guys. I'm going to tell you guys, it's
Well,
been made,
you sound
it's
like
been made cheap.
you sound like you're talking about women being hoes too, because they are some hoes.
Yeah, well, women have been encouraged. It's called sexual liberation. It's called um
Hold up,
well, no, it's whoredom, but that's not what they're calling it. Like they're wrapping it up
not
in
hoe, hoe.
they're wrapping whoredom up in a package of so-called liberation. And then Goddess Karma said, why would you bring the legacy of a rapist into the world? That's like having babies with dusties. I don't think so, because if you're having sex with a dusty, then you want to have a dusty's baby. I don't know why I wouldn't have sex with a dusty. So if you're getting pregnant by a dusty, not you, Goddess Karma, but any woman, right? Then the fault is with you, honey. Why are you even laying down in the bed with somebody who you don't even respect, right? Clearest Water said, "Who would want a constant reminder of your trauma?"
See, that was my point.
I'm not saying that women have to raise those babies. I'm not suggesting that if you are raped, that you have to raise that child. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just suggesting that the child should not die for the crimes of the father. Just like you don't want to die for your parents' crimes, we shouldn't kill other people because of their parents' crimes.
But that's what I was alluding to earlier. I was like, that's still going to be symbolic, that 9+ months of that horrific, heinous event that this person had to endure. So again, and
Mhm.
not everybody is, of the opinion as you are, like, okay, yes, this child is innocent and everything. But again, some people, they may not have that strength or, that that viewpoint, that orientation of that. And so I can see where the sister's coming from, because that's just a constant reminder. And I hear what you're saying. Yeah, they could give the child up for adoption and everything, but they still have to, they have to bore that child.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing, that whose fault is that though?
I mean, it's not their fault if they're raped.
And it's also not the baby's fault. There's one guilty party, and that's the rapist. So all the suffering, right, of the woman and the suffering of the child, the woman and the child are both innocent. And I think that's what we cannot lose sight of. In the case of rape that results in pregnancy, which almost never happens, let's just say that rape almost never, ever results in pregnancy. Women are fertile literally 3 days out of the month. Rape almost never results in pregnancy. Like literally a fraction of a percentage of rapes result in pregnancy. So this is even a matter of how many women are getting raped. This is how many women would actually get pregnant from rape. It almost never happens. That's number one. But if it did, we should never forget that there is only one person who is guilty, and that is the rapist. The woman is innocent and the child is innocent. And all of the hurt and all of the damage that comes from that violence is the responsibility of that man who should be killed. However, it is not the fault of the baby and it is not the fault of the mother. They are both innocent. And we can just never lose sight of that. Raffle said, I used to be pro life, but I realized I also think body autonomy is more important. Example, we should all be able to decide what happens with our bodies/organs after death. Is it fair to those who need transplants to have people deciding to not donate their organs upon death, when those organs will for sure save a person's life? Fair or not, it's that person's choice. So, how can I give a dead person more body autonomy than a living woman? I guess, Raffle, I could answer your question with a question. How can we give dead people more body autonomy than living people, period. Because children in the womb are alive. And I know it's a precarious situation for women, but you're living and the baby's living. Like both of you are alive and both of you have your own bodies. So a dead person, we can't harvest their organs, but we can kill an entire living human being. Why, again, do we have more mercy, love, and compassion for the mother than we do for the child? And how can we have more compassion for a woman than we can have for a child that she can't find compassion for? Like when your own mother does not want you and would rather see you dead, how can a person who would rather see their own child dead then ask for compassion? That is just something that I'm having a very hard time understanding. Let's see. I'm looking at your comments. I'm looking at your comments. Goddess Karma said you don't know a pregnancy is a risk until you're pregnant. Yes, which is why you should only get pregnant when you want to have children with a man that you want to have children with. So then you should not have sex with any man until you're ready to take all of the risks that come with sex. One of those being pregnancy and understanding that every pregnancy may not be perfect. Lorraine, I'm sorry that you've known many women that have died where? In childbirth? But the statistics say in the United States, less than 1,000 women per year die. And when I say less than, I mean like several hundred women less than 1,000. But I'm just, beefing up the statistic to say less than 1,000. But it's a lot less than 1,000. Lorraine said, I also know women who had children they did not want and they were not kind to the baby or child. That's true. When women don't want children, they make horrible mothers. Same thing with men. They make horrible fathers when they don't want children, which is why we should promote chastity. That's what I think. I think people should stop having sex and making families that they don't want. And I don't think the solution to that is to kill people. I think the solution to that is to exercise some vaginal and penile self-control, right? Control your penises, control your vaginas. We don't need to kill people. We can just have the adults act responsible. Just be responsible. Don't lead with your horniness, if that makes sense. That's what I think. The child is unwanted and now a burden to society. Yeah, I mean, that's the better off dead thing, right? Some people are better off dead. Like sometimes it's like, oh, they're going to be poor. They're better off dead. Well, then why don't we just go kill all the living poor people? You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who are unwanted. Why don't we kill them? Why stop with unborn children? Some people say, what if the child is handicapped? You should get an abortion for that. Why don't we just go kill all the handicapped people that are alive? Because if these people are truly better off dead, then their lives can't be more valuable, whether they're in the womb or out of the womb. But that's very eugenic, right? And we always say that eugenics is so bad. So it's like either some people are better off dead or they're not. If there are sectors of people who are better off dead, then we should be down to kill them regardless of if they're in the womb or out the womb.
Now, you said this, people who, how did you phrase it? That have some type of issue or something that they shouldn't procreate because the children are more than likely to come out with some type of deficiency. So what about that? So you're saying that those people shouldn't procreate?
Hmm?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I do. You mean people who have like some sort of like health deficiency?
Yeah, some type of.
Yeah, I do believe in responsible reproduction. So that is not just not having sex with people you don't want to reproduce with. I also think that, but I would never enforce this. This is just my personal opinion that if you do have some horrible genetic issue, it's responsible to not reproduce. But I would never try to pass a law to prevent people like that from reproducing because, who gets to be the judge and jury on that? My thing is when pro-life people make the better off dead argument, it's like, do you really think these people are better off dead? Because then we could just start killing them. We don't have to just kill the ones in the womb. We can kill the ones out of the womb too. Like, are these people really better off dead? Shrug said, but it's not just women being raped. Young girls are also being raped, and young bodies will have to go. Again, literally 1% of abortions are from rape. I think women being raped is something that is very upsetting to all of us, but most abortions are not from rape. They're just not from rape. And so we can't create laws based on what is not the norm. We cannot keep doing that. This rabbit hole of creating laws based on the minority is honestly insane. This is why the gay agenda is running amok right now. We keep creating laws and rules and regulations based on, oh, and can side note, we're going to talk about the whole transgenders being banned from swimming. These people have not been banned from swimming, you guys, but we won't talk about that in this conversation. It is not, I don't know why everybody's going around saying they can't swim in women's competitions anymore. They can, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, we cannot make laws based on the minority. That is just clear as water said, sex is a biological need. No, it's not. No, it's not. Water is a biological need. Sex is not a biological. Nobody has ever died from lack of sex. You don't, if you go 7 days without sex, you're not going to drop dead, right? Water, food, air, right? Shelter, like, but not sex. Sex is not a biological need. That's just wild. That's if it get married if you want to have sex. Nobody is died. Lady Wahala said people are not going to stop having sex though. Nobody has to stop having sex. Just be responsible, right? I don't know why we let's not jump to extremes.
Stop having irresponsible sex. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, that's what you should say. No, but that's how people talk. Like nobody's going to stop having sex though. So what you're saying is that people are grossly irresponsible. I guarantee you for a fact we could lessen irresponsibility by taking away people's ability to cover their irresponsibility. See, when you have ways to get out of the repercussions of what you've done wrong, then you will do more things wrong. You remove all of these ways to get out of being responsible for your bad behavior, and you will find that far less people will be careless with their bodies.
Well, but to that end, should the same thing apply to the men that you were saying? Listen, I know the bulk of it falls on the women and everything, but again, you make a strong argument to the brothers to be held accountable again, not just escape and say, okay, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And that's my issue because it's been allowed to be that where they can do that.
Well, I do agree with that. And I mean, if you guys saw, those of you who participated, like when we were like, let's get together and what would our laws about abortion look like? It's on my community, my community tab. You can go look at that poll that we did. And one of the things is finding ways, like I wanted, because we were dealing with pro-lifers, pro-choice people. We were trying to find a middle ground that pro-life and pro-choice people could agree on. And one of those things was to limit abortions, right? So women couldn't have just tons of abortions. You couldn't have more. I think it was like than 2 or 3. But when a woman got an abortion, there was a bank, like you bank the DNA. And what we wanted to do was catch repeated male perpetrators of making babies that are getting aborted, right? And that there be some repercussions for that. Also, the same thing for if a woman chose to have the child. If you couldn't find the father, then we're banking that DNA because one day we're going to catch up to the father, right? And so making men be more accountable. But here's the thing, the easiest way for a man to be accountable is for you to actually be in a relationship with him. When you're having one night stands or bouncing on top of the man you met at the club, he can run off because you don't know him. You don't know him. This is why it's just easier to just not sleep with any and everybody because accountability comes with familiarity. And accountability comes with people actually having lives that have things in it that they value. A person who has nothing to lose, who's basically a stranger to you, is probably not the person, man or woman, that any of us should be having sex with. It's just time for us to grow up. Like, come on, we have to be adults. And I think we are so used in this society to be able to act in childish, irresponsible ways, right? We're so used to that. And and just having society create laws that cover for us, right? You have sex, you catch a disease from promiscuity, and then you go take a pill. You have sex and you knock a woman up and you coerce her into getting an abortion. Or you have sex with a guy and, the I'm not going to say that. I was about to say it, but I don't want you to think it's about you clear as water. But, you know, you have sex and he doesn't pull out in time, or you have sex and, um, things don't turn out the way you want. And then you go ahead and you get an abortion. Like, we are covering our irresponsibility instead of just admitting that we're screwing up and we need to do better. Just do better.
But I think society has allowed these things and perpetuated and proliferated these as norms, right? And so again, even within our community, sometimes like it's with some people, I think they clearly think it's an ilk, but like, oh, how many people, how many bodies do you have? And now it's not just the brother saying this, it's the young sister saying too. How many bodies? I mean, but it's a perpetuation of this type of thing. And again, those of us that know better should do better. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that because I was out there when I was younger, wilding and everything too. And there's some brothers and sisters who are, still doing that. And it's like, I do agree with you now that this is going to scare some people to straighten up. You know what I mean? And it's not because of moral reasons, right? It's because they no longer have that luxury, right? As, as convenient as it once was. Because like you said, it's still going to be there, but it's not going to be as convenient as it once was.
Yeah, it's still there. I mean, it'll be very convenient in some places. Let's not get it
No,
twisted.
no, no.
In
I said
some
in some
places,
places.
it's going to be convenient as heck. Raffle said, I'm not Christian, but I never understood when Christians say a fetus is innocent, when I thought the Bible says we are all born of sin. Genuinely ignorant of the scriptures that explain it. Totally fine. I was not going to make this a Christian thing, but I totally want to answer that. So, first of all, babies are innocent, especially ones in the womb, because the only way that you can sin is to have a knowledge of what is right and wrong. And James 4:17 tells us that. It says, therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. All right. So none of us is going to argue that an infant in the womb or a newborn baby knows right from wrong. But once there is an understanding of, oh, I should do this thing is good, then for that person, it is sin. I think the scripture you're talking about is in Psalms when King David was talking about himself and he said, behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. His mother's name was like Nit Sevet or something like that. but that was King David talking about himself, right? But we're taught in scripture as Christians that you have to know to do good and choose not to do it for it to be sin. And obviously, unborn children and babies, they don't know right from wrong. They don't have a concept of that. So they are innocent. And something else that the Bible says is the Lord hates hands that shed innocent blood. So, in order to shed innocent blood, it does mean that there is a such thing as people who are innocent. Um, so yeah, but I'm glad you brought that up. Um, Yvette is looking, so Chantrice, is it Chantrice or I'm pretty sure it's Chantrice. Chantrice said Yvette is looking at this from the perspective of a Christian and not as a human. Well, I'm definitely human, right? But it's not even just a Christian perspective. Being responsible when you have sex, not having sex with people that you don't want to reproduce with, not having sex with people that you think are bad people that you don't respect, not having sex with somebody. Um, and then if you had to go get an abortion, if you had to take a pill and be in all that pain, you would not feel that was worth it. That's not about Christianity. I mean, that's just common sense, right? That's just common sense. I didn't bring up the Bible at all until Raffle asked the question. So it has nothing to do with that. But I want to argue that Christians are human. Um, I know that I'm a human female. So um, I don't think humanity is lost, right? We're already taking humanity from the babies, right? Let's not take humanity from whole people. Shrug said abortion shouldn't be used as a method of birth control, but it should be available if needed. But it is a method of birth control, right? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's literally, it is a birth control. Sipping Tea said this is a win for states' rights, and that is true. This is a win for states' rights because abortion is not illegal. Abortion is still legal, y'all. It's not illegal. But we do need state sovereignty because our government is out of control. Angelic Nymph said, I don't know, this might turn out to be super terrible. I mean, I doubt it. I mean, it could be. I think for me, the terrible thing is like in liberal states, they'll even be doing partial birth abortions. And I just remember, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the days when partial birth abortions were really common and sometimes the babies would be born alive. This is why partial birth abortions got outlawed. But because the mother didn't want the child, they would just leave the child to die. Um, I think it could get bad because I think there are some states where people are genuinely so evil that you will have a fully formed baby in a woman's womb that could completely live outside of the mom's body, and that woman will be able to kill that child literally up to her due date without a problem. And I think that that is monstrous. And so it could get very ugly. I absolutely agree. Goddess Karma said most women obtain abortions because they cannot afford to take care of the child. Men can walk away. To say that a woman should struggle if a man changes his mind is insane. This is more reason for us to be responsible as women. But more importantly, we should not be having sex with men that can walk away. If you're having sex with a man where if you get pregnant, you don't know where to find him, you don't know his name, you don't know his social security number, you don't know anything about him, you don't know his family, then that is definitely meaning that you were very careless. I would personally not have sex with a man that was that much of a stranger to me. To me, that is insane. It is insane to have sex with somebody that you know so little about them that they could disappear on you if you got pregnant. That would be crazy, crazy. Um, that's true, Raffle. Women have been doing that. That's very true. Getting abortions without men's input or permission for thousands of years. Actually, you guys, I told you this. Um, Back when I was in college, I wrote a thesis on abortion. And I actually went through like the various methods of abortion that women have used throughout history. This is back when I was pro-choice, actually. Um, and this was a time where I was really into um, stem cell research. This was back before there were molecular biologists and neo organs, specifically neo organs. And it was that field and how the harvesting of stem cells and the using them to regenerate or to grow organs or to actually like because the science was really rudimentary back then, and sometimes you would just like place, for lack of, for just an easy term, like place the stem cells in the place that needed regeneration on the patient. Sometimes you would develop skin or other things in petri dishes, because this was back again before there were true molecular biologists. And what you found is that those stem cells are not as blank slates as you think they are. There was a problem with patients getting tumors, and within those tumors, you would find teeth, you would find hair, because those stem cells really wanted to be a baby. And it was the research on abortion methods and the understanding that came with that early stem cell research that actually changed me to be pro life. It actually wasn't religion at all. Because I have a video on this channel I called I Lost Faith with God. And all of this was happening during that period when I was not a practicing Christian. This is many, many years ago, you guys. We're talking 20 years ago. Um, but yeah, Shrug said if men's bodies can't be regulated, then women's bodies shouldn't be regulated. Well, everybody's bodies are regulated because aren't people being forced to get, vaccines and stuff? So I hope that you're anti-vaccination, Shrug, that you feel people have the right to not vaccinate themselves if they don't want, and that they shouldn't be penalized for that, right? All of you guys who are pro-life should also be anti-vaccination. You should be pro-choice, not just for killing babies, but you should also be pro-choice about the vaccination issue. Because I noticed that a lot of people who are pro-choice, not you, Shrug, because I don't know your opinion, but I noticed that a lot of people who are pro-choice sure as heck don't have a problem with people getting vaccinated.
Well, I definitely am.
You're definitely what?
I have a problem with the vaccination, the force mandating people to get vaccinated. I mean, it should be a choice. I mean, it's your body, right? So you should determine if getting a vaccine is best for you in your situation. And just like the people who are pro-choice should make the determination what's best for them in their circumstance and situation.
Yeah, the pro-choice people, I'm interested to hear if a woman decides to keep her baby, can she toss back shots of tequila her whole pregnancy, just 30 shots of tequila a day, just shots of tequila from morning to night? Do you think that that's bad behavior if her baby comes out all screwed up and retarded? Are you criticizing that, or is it her body, her choice? I think, we say our body, our choice, but people don't really mean that, because there's like a million situations I can think of when we don't think it's people's body, their choice. So I'm just saying, don't, not you, Shrug, but just in general, keep that same my body, my choice energy, not just when you want to kill babies. Keep it across the board in everything. At least be consistent, right? Goddess Karma said, getting married doesn't guarantee basically anything, I think is what you mean. Well, you know what? There are no guarantees in life. But there are, look, putting on oven mitts when you take something out of the oven doesn't guarantee you won't get burned. But does that mean that you're going to reach into a hot oven and pull something out with your bare hands? No, because it is more sensible to be responsible and put on the oven mitts. So there are no guarantees in life. Things will go wrong. Things will go not as we plan them to go, but it is only pragmatic and sensible to do as many things as possible to make your outcome positive. So I agree with you. Getting married doesn't guarantee anything, just like wearing oven mitts doesn't guarantee you won't get burned when you take something out the oven. But we still put the oven mitts on our hands, don't we? That's what I would say to that. Um, and Shrug was agreeing with Goddess Karma. Chocolate Chunks said, "What's up, Chocolate Chunks? I think some men inherently love trapping the right one with babies and trying to tie them down while being able to exercise their own options. These are facts. I agree with you. I agree with you. The reality is there's no way for us to protect ourselves fully from something going wrong in life. All we can do, but babies don't need to die for it, right? We can come up with all the scenarios of where things could go wrong for women, but nobody needs to die because something bad might happen in your life. Like you can kill your baby today and bad stuff is still going to happen to you anyway. Killing your child isn't going to make your life not bad. So I don't think I'm not saying you or anybody, right, is saying that, but I'm saying that we have to recognize that sometimes Chocolate Chunks is not doing this. I'm just speaking like in general, you guys. Sometimes we come up with all of these terrible scenarios that have happened or could happen and use those as reasons to get abortions. But the reality is killing our own children, because that's what we're doing, killing our own children isn't suddenly the magic cure to not having bad stuff happen to you. Nobody has to die. Bad stuff's going to happen to you anyway, right? So killing your kid is not going to be the thing that is protecting your life and making your life great. I agree, Angelic Nymph. Men don't need to get away scot-free. I agree with you. I'm trying to get through your comments.
And they shouldn't.
No, and Mr. said men should not get out off scot-free. Tiff said men will complain even more if women become more selective choosing a sex partner. They'll complain at first, and they might even try to pressure or guilt women into having sex with them. But what, I'll tell you what, one thing we do have full control over is our bodies, right? We do have control over our bodies and who we give them to. Barring rape, right? We're giving out a lot of consensual sex. Goddess said men are killing women for not having abortions. So now a woman who would keep a child, are in danger. Okay. So I don't think there's an epidemic. I'm not saying men don't kill women for not having abortions. I'm just saying men can kill women for choosing. Yeah, they do. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying men are also killing women for breaking up with them, right? Men are also killing women just because they're irritated that day, right? So having abortions isn't going to stop violence against women. That's all I'm saying. Like killing babies won't stop men who are inclined to hurt women from hurting women. A woman could go get an abortion and that same man will still kill her or beat her or hurt her after she kills her baby. An abortion is not going to stop a man who is violent from being violent. Killing a baby is not going to stop a violent man from being violent. It's just not, that's not going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. He's not going to go, "Oh, well, you got that abortion, so now I'm going to act like a sane person." He's going to be the same crazy screw up whether you get the abortion or not. Yeah. Thank you. How is pregnancy a punishment? It is a gift. That is so true. Children are a gift. I think women have learned to really hate our bodies and hate our babies. And we have to really recognize how beautiful our bodies are, how blessed we are to have babies, how lucky. It's very hard for women to get pregnant. I know we pretend like it's so easy, but it's not so easy. It's literally practically a miracle when a woman gets pregnant because it's such a small window when it's even possible. And even within that window, you may not, like, women get pregnant all the time and don't even know they're pregnant because the pregnancy is not viable and they start their period. So it's hard to get pregnant, and it's hard to get pregnant and carry a baby to term. That is a beautiful thing. But we talk about pregnancy like it is some horrible, traumatic, terrible, evil thing that's happening. And it's really just sad to hear the women who have, we have wombs. Every human has to grow inside of a woman. And to hear us sit and treat what our bodies are capable of as some like horrible punishment that's been pushed, upon us, it just shows that we've really tapped into a lot of the hatred of women. Strangely, as women, sometimes we are women haters, I think.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
We'll wrap up in about 2 more minutes.
yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to just go through their comments. Reality is, um, reality is people are going to have sex as long as it's free will. It's going to have to literally be deemed a crime to stop these people from making unwanted. I can't stand some of y'all. Again, this is not to stop people from having sex. Like, are we really, honestly, y'all, do you guys really think that people are that? Maybe people are. Maybe I have more faith in humanity than some of y'all do. Do we really think that people are just literally like crazed animals, just running around, swinging their penises to and fro and throwing their vaginas in people's faces, is completely incapable of like not having sex with each other? Can we even pretend that people could possibly be responsible and make good decisions? Sometimes y'all comment, I'm like, you guys have no faith in anybody. No faith whatsoever. Goodness. I would hope we wouldn't have to make no, Lorraine. Lorraine, you didn't do that. Hold on. Let me find your comment, Lorraine. Where's your comment? Hold on. I'm going to find this comment and then I'm going to beat you up for it, Lorraine. Let's see. Okay. Lorraine, I really want to find this comment that I said that you wrote. I mean, okay, I'll just tell you what Lorraine said. Lorraine said Dusty Peen is good, but Lorraine, I should have really highlighted your comment because I can't stand you. I can't stand you for that. You are not like, honestly, you are not. You are not right for that at all. And somebody needs to time you out right now. Dusty Peen is good. Well, the peen is not worth all that. Let's see. Lorraine, you had another comment. You said sex is not only for procreation, though. No, sex is pleasurable as well. But that doesn't mean that you need to be irresponsible with it. Like, food is pleasurable too, but that doesn't mean that you need to become like a complete glutton, right? So just acknowledging that sex ends in procreation, like that's what sex does. You have sex, procreation is on the table, doesn't mean that you can't enjoy sex. And in fact, women tend to enjoy sex more when they are in healthy, intimate relationships with a man. Women get more pleasure from sex when it's not just with some rando, right? People get more pleasure from sex when it's not just with some random individual who doesn't even care if you've enjoying yourself or not, because they're really just there to get off. Hold on, I'm still looking at your comments, but I'm about to get out of here too. Um, it's so many comments. So, oh, you know why I couldn't find your comment, Lorraine? Because I went like way back. As soon as I find that trifling comment you made, I'm gonna put it up though. Oh, there we go. I'm glad I came by your comment. Somebody time her out. Lorraine, you're going on timeout. You're going in a corner. You do not deserve to be a part of this conversation anymore after that. You're actually banned from talking. You're banned from any further comments whatsoever. I no longer want you to say anything in the chat. You just fall back completely. You just fall back completely because that was highly inappropriate. Like literally. In fact, we're going to leave with Lorraine's comment because we might as well end on a funny note. Lorraine, I'm going to tell you something. Mr. has fantastic. You do, though. He doesn't want me to tell you guys about it. It is literally epic, and there's nothing dusty about him. So you can be with a non dusty and have extraordinarily good sex. I'll tell you something. In fact, I think being with somebody who's not dusty will actually heighten your pleasure because you won't be on some dirty, filthy mattress in some trashy apartment somewhere trying to get it on. Like maybe the fact that he can provide and has intelligence and cares about you will heighten your sexual pleasure, but not the dusty being good. Goodness. Okay. What why are you guys encouraging her? Don't encourage her. Don't do that. Chocolate Chunk said, Lorraine, my lie detector didn't make a sound. I'm hanging up on you guys. I don't want to talk to any of you anymore. Not one of you. You were all banned from the conversation. And don't come in the comment section seconding and thirding Lorraine's motion, okay? You guys are part of the problem and not the solution. I will talk to you guys later.